Uh, my name is Davionce Earnest. It is Wednesday evening. We're chilling at the apartment right now. I've had 6 family members affected by cancer that I know personally. 3 that were very close to me, as well as know a number of others who are affected by cancer very close to the family.
Okay, I feel you. Yeah, I've been through it as well. I'm Chris Stringer. We're going to have a little conversation today about people that have been affected by cancer or passed away from cancer. Definitely try to raise awareness and let people know whether it's the symptoms, how it affects you, like psychologically and physically as well. So I can just start off. So when you first, I don't know, we can go off a specific family member, maybe the one that maybe touched you the most, or the very first one that might have passed away. When did they first start showing signs of when they were going through cancer or just affected by it?
My grandmother, Grandma Joy, she was basically the backbone rock to my entire family. My father's mother, he's the staple of the family, and she was his core. She never really showed symptoms, signs, or anything at all. She was just a lifelong smoker, and her health just immediately started deteriorating. And shortly after, found out that she had cancer. From there, we found out she ended up having terminal cancer, and she was given, I believe, weeks to live. Mm-hmm. And we helped her prolong her life for a couple of years. She actually went into remission and came back, and she accepted it, and the family accepted it, and we just did all we could to try to make sure she was happy on the way out. But as she was passing away, we found out her brother was actually diagnosed with cancer a year later. I believe he ended up passing away a year after her. My father's father ended up reconnecting back with the family after some time. It was the first time I had met him. He had been around the family around this time. My grandmother was diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And within a 3-year stint, my father found out his father actually had cancer as well and was terminal. Within a 3-year stint, he lost his mother, his closest uncle, and his father.
Damn. I mean, that's that's tragic as hell. Like, did they all have the same type of cancer, or were there different cancers, or?
If I'm correct, it was all cancer due to smoking. Mm-hmm. Lung cancer and throat cancer.
Cancer's no joke.
As far as my grandmother and her brother, they were probably 2 of the strongest people I ever met in life. Uncle Tommy Bones is actually why I have the spider hanging from my back. He was my biggest supporter in sports. Mm-hmm. One of the most strong-willed, strong-minded, self-identifying individuals you would ever meet. Fearless. Probably one of the only people I ever known to go toe-to-toe with my father, who's 6'6", 380, and he's probably 5'8", 160 pounds.
Damn.
Fearless, completely fearless, and he went out doing exactly what he loved, the way he said he was going to do it, with a beer in one hand and a cigarette in the other. He was given his life sentence by the doctor. The doctor told him exactly when he'd die. He told the doctor, "I'll die when I choose to," with a beer and a cigarette in my hand, smoking. We threw a party for him. The family came from out of state, actually. We were living in Atlanta, and all the family came and visited. We pretty much knew what was going to happen. He had control of his life for the most part towards the end, and he chose when he wanted to go. We threw a party that night with a beer and a cigarette in his hand. He never woke back up.
It don't even sound real, you know what I'm saying? But it's a very, very real situation, bro. How did it affect people around you? Because I know when I was going through it, it's almost like having the opposite of having $1 million and winning the lottery. It's like I had people hitting me up like, "Man, I remember I remember that one time we had in kindergarten, or you know what I'm saying, like just like basically talking to me like I'm already gone. Like, so how did it affect first and foremost you, and then how did it affect everybody else that was around the situation?
Well, with the family, the way my father raised us was never verbal love. He kind of always just instilled love through action and showing. It was few and far between where we'd actually hear "I love yous," but it was always known and understood through action, through things our family did for each other. And a lot of people don't know a huge part of the reason why we actually moved to Texas is because my father was driving back and forth and flying back and forth between Atlanta and Houston for weeks on a time to take care of his mother. And big part of the reason why we moved here was for her health. He ended up buying a home and moving her husband and my grandfather in to take care of her, keep her close to the family, keep an eye on her, make sure my mother, being a nurse, make sure she was taken care of at home by the family, by someone who actually loved her. And I think those were the first times we really started hearing verbally "I love yous" around the family. So it started changing the family in a sense from shown love to verbal love. And my entire life, I never saw my father cry. I never saw him once break down, anything of that sort. And as she got worse, his patience got worse with her. And then it was like he almost snapped out of it and realized just because she's dying, a part of him doesn't have to die. He still has a family that he has to live for. We always supported him going through because we always know it was the most hard on him than anyone in the family. Like I said, she was the foundation of our family. He was her son. He did any and everything for her as she did for the family. Our family was basically kept together by her. And as she was passing, it was shown tenfold her impact on the family about how close the family got back together. For a while, the family had kind of grew distant, and we all went about our separate lives and our separate sanctions of our families and things of that sort as we all got older. And as she got sick, it was a weekly thing that we'd have 15 to 30 family members at the house every weekend just to be around her, just to be around the family, to uplift the spirits and things of that sort. And it actually became to the point where we had family members taking entire weeks of work off just to spend the entire week with her, spend time with her, would leave for a day, and then come right back. So we had a house that we were actually shacking up with sometimes 3 or 4 families at one time just to be around her. And we continued just being family, taking care of her, making sure she was fed. And she actually went on, I think it's funny, a protein diet where she would drink protein shakes 3 times a day. I just thought it was hilarious because I was doing the same thing, so we would actually drink them together sometimes. And my mother made sure she always got her protein shakes, and my dad would come through the house every day with the tubs of protein just to make sure her body's healthy while she's on her way out. And we tried to always lighten the mood and include her in parties with the family when she could, when she had the energy, the strength to do so. But towards the dying days, she changed. She never showed weakness, never showed fear, never backed down from anybody. My sister's a fighter. She got expelled from fighting guys in high school.
Is this your older sister or younger sister?
Older sister.
Older sister, okay.
Needless to say, she's the only person who would ever whoop my sister. Punch her dead in the mouth and dare her to fight her back. When they fought her back, she would give her a run for her money, even in old age. So that's who she was. Like I said, my dad's 6'6", 380. She still sunned him as if he was 5 years old. The only time I ever saw fear was probably about 6 months before she was actually going to pass, where she realized she had to accept it, and then it immediately went away, as if she's accepted it. It's what it is. Let's make the best of it. But the days following up to actually passing, it was fear. And that's something that kind of shook the entire family, because we never saw her like that. And with the fear that she was showing, like I said, up until these days, I never saw my father cry. And it was days on end where he'd come out the room with tears falling down his eyes or sobbing. And no one was used to this. I've never saw him in my life cry. I've never saw him sad or heartbroken. So I started seeing him interact with his mother, knowing she was passing. And I think a big part of that was because of the fear of her going. She fought it for a while. She got very, very weak within the last week. And she'd wake up crying at night because it was almost as if she felt herself leaving and was fighting it. And every time she woke up, she would tell us, I wasn't ready. He called me to go, and I didn't want to leave the family. The night before she actually passed away, her sister was there talking to her. My cousin, everybody, my mother was in there. She told my mother she's on her way out. My mother spoke to her, comforted her a little bit. Basically told her she didn't have to fight for us anymore. She did her job in our lives, and we were okay if she was okay with making her exit from this world. And she cried for hours and didn't want to go. And then she went to sleep, and I believe the next morning she woke up, and it was almost as if she was at peace. She told me she had spoke with her sisters, who actually had passed away too. They had met her, spoke to her, told her, no, if she's ready to come, we're willing to take you into our arms and accept you into whatever afterlife there may be. And it was kind of scary to hear her talk about her siblings who passed as if they were standing there with her. The night before she passed, like I said, she was speaking with her sister, her niece, my mother, and everyone. She told her she was going to go. She cried. My mother helped her relax to sleep, and just like her brother, she took her exit on her time. She told her she wouldn't be waking back up, and she took her last breath in her sleep, and that was that.
Dang. I don't even know what to say, really. Like, that's just like, it's deep, because I know it's very factual. Like her seeing her family members, like I'm from a religious family, so like I know exactly where that's coming from and exactly where that's at. And I'm sure she did see him. They probably came through her, and they were probably there with her that whole time as she was going through it, even if she wasn't, sleeping. So, damn, I was like, that's so deep right there. It's like the next question is just like, damn, like, I mean, really, this is like more so like the second to last question. But it's like when they were going through it, like, who seemed to be more, I guess, negative about the situation? Whether it doesn't have to be just them in general, it can be people around, or who seemed like more positive. Because I'm sure everybody was trying to stay positive and keep them in their prayers and do all these things. But who did it affect in the sense of like, maybe it was a positive person that kind of turned negative in the situation, or a negative person that turned positive, like from that aspect?
The crazy thing is, with all three family members within that 3-year stretch that affected me just directly, that I had very close personal relationships with, no one in the family changed character at all. I come from a family that's real tight-knit, and we're built on the foundation of family before all, and love family before all. And it was almost like running through your mind is the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, but in a sense of on your way out, it takes a family to show the elders in your family the life they lived raising you was appreciated. So take care of them on the way out. And that's what everything was about at that point, was just genuine love to those people, concern for those people, and helping. I don't even remember a single argument. The only thing that was actually addressed while all this was going on is my sister's a spitting image of my grandmother. She smokes. And everyone that has cancer in our family, has passed away from cancer in our family, is actually triggered by smoking. And I guess the only instance of anything that can be seen as negative was my dad's directness to her needing to change her life before she lived the same life my grandmother lived, passing away by doing what she loves, which was smoking, relying on smoking. And that was probably the only thing that could have even been seen as negative. Everybody really just came together.
Damn. That's deep, man. Like I said, I only had like stage 1. I was able to maneuver my way out, you know what I'm saying? And I always tell people, I'm like, I just took one day, let it all out, and I just said, you know what, after that, we're going to beat this thing and we're going to make it happen. So, I mean, I'm sure they're all in a better place for sure, especially if they stay positive throughout the whole situation, because it's not even something to play with at all. It's just something, it's like a fight with yourself, you know? And it's just like, how am I going to win this fight? And even if you pass away, that doesn't mean you didn't win. But if you give up, that means you lost. Regardless, you can give up and still beat it, you know? And like you already defeated. You already let it beat you. But if you don't let it beat you up here, then you'll definitely be able to conquer anything. So I guess just the last thing I would just ask is just if you had to just tell, you know, anybody that's going through anything like a cancer, any type of disease or anything, like what advice would you want to give to them from the experience and everything that you've gone through in this situation?
Prevention. I would never tell anyone to live their life solely and purposely to avoid certain things that may trigger cancer within your body, or if you have a lineage of cancer in your family. But I will admit I do. I live my life to try to avoid cancer, but at the same time become strong enough mentally and physically to fight cancer if I ever was diagnosed with it. A lot of people ask me all the time, why are you consistently in the gym day in and day out? Why do you lift the way you do? Why do you soak up so much knowledge and try to learn so much about everything regarding the body, and just obtaining so much knowledge? And I guess subconsciously I hadn't even realized till a few years back that I had told myself I always just wanted to live longer than most people in my family because of our early dying age. But I also wanted to be one of the only, if not the only person in the family who, God forbid, I was to be diagnosed with cancer, that beat it. I wanted my body strong enough to take on that fight, and my mind mentally strong enough to push through. Because that's the only, I don't have any type of fears in life. But my only worry is the diagnosis for cancer, and will I be strong enough to fight it? Because I've seen so many people in my family fall victim to it and pass away, and even the strongest ones in our family. So I pray that I never have to put myself in a situation where I'm fighting for my life and battling cancer. But if it was going to happen to anybody, I'd rather it happen to me than anyone else in the family, because I've prepared myself. The biggest thing I can tell people focus on your health. Routinely get checked for any and everything. The smallest signs and symptoms can be the biggest and most dreadful news. So just always be cautious towards your health. And understand your family's history of medical conditions. I will never take a cigarette to my mouth till the day I die, because I don't know if one smoke may be a triggerant for cancer in my life. So it's just stay on top of your health, understand your family's conditional history, and prepare yourself for not even cancer, just whatever life may throw at you. Make sure you're strong enough mentally and physically to fight whatever battles you may be faced with.
Damn. Some good advice, man. Real talk. I feel like I need to focus on my health a little bit more too, bro. After that speech, let me go ahead and get that. How much you charge on the gym membership?
Yeah, man, that's
real talk.
the biggest reason why I owe him there, because as I get older, I don't want to just go out like the rest of our family. I don't know too many men in my family that's made it past the age of 55. I don't know anyone in my family that's beat cancer. I want to live a long, healthy life, and God forbid something happened down the line, I want to be able to fight it even in old age. Be strong enough to do it. So while I'm young and capable of doing it, I'm preparing myself. There's so saying, winning a war, you can never prepare as much as the days before war when you're truly preparing. So you can never truly prepare yourself for the battle unless you're in deep preparation before the battle.
Damn. Wise words. Real talk, man.